got a Lobster Magnet. Lobster's a 10 I told you grab it.
So, the time has come for me to pass the most important rite of passage for becoming an anime YouTuber. I must make a video shitting upon Sword Art Online. The only problem is, I haven't really watched Sword Art Online. Well, kinda did. Like, I had it on in the background a few times, and I was like playing Hearthstone. I was like half paying attention. Let's see what I can remember. Like, everyone's stuck in the world, video game world, and if you die in the video game world, you die in real life, and like, there was this arc that was the arc everyone really liked, and then there was this elf arc or something, and there were like multiple waifu girls and lots of weird tentacle molestation, and then there was like a second season where there's like an FPS world and a guy named Death Gun who, if he shoots you in the game, he kills you in real life. And then it turns out there's like 3 people pretending to be Death Gun, and one of them like stands by your bed to like inject you with a lethal syringe, which sounds really complicated and kind of stupid. Then there's like the second half of the second season where there's this girl who's dying in real life, but there's a huge funeral for her in the virtual world, which is kind of puzzling since this is a world where people get trapped and die in video games. You'd think that would kind of discourage people from like continuing to play online games. So basically the point I'm trying to make is that I don't particularly care about Sword Art Online, and I'm not particularly invested in doing the research to make the same point that a million other people have already made. I've spent more time watching other people's videos shitting on SAO than I've actually spent watching the series itself. What I'm here to talk about is less the show and more its general impact on the world of fandom, and what I find especially troubling about that. SAO is the ship that launched a million light novel anime adaptations, and they all seem like this sort of race to the bottom in terms of seeing which bare-bones, fan-fiction-y, self-insert character can be thrown into a video game /fantasy /sci-fi world where they are confronted by a huge assortment of big-boobed anime girls who can be turned into vinyl figures. There seems to be this unending deluge of these shows, and they all seem to cater towards the same adolescent male power fantasy. It's not hard to see why it's so appealing. Most of the series in question tend to feature everyman otakus who are bland and serve as a blank enough slate for most of the show's target demographic to vicariously identify with. Then we see these characters engage in a fantasy setting where they tend to be the greatest magical sword-wielding badass who develops a small harem of different girls designed to appeal to different aesthetic fetishes. Whether it's the lolicon girl, the fat titty big sister, the tsundere bitchy girl, hilarity and hijinks ensue. Which brings me to the concept of parasocial relationships. Now, a parasocial relationship is a one-sided relationship where one person extends emotional energy, interest, and time with another party. Generally, though, the other person is completely unaware of their existence, or that person just doesn't exist because they're a fictional character. The phenomenon began to be studied in academia in 1956 by sociologists Horton and Hull, who were some of the first academic figures to study the different interactions between mass media and its consumers. Basically, a parasocial relationship is one you develop with a celebrity personality or fictional character. By watching something like Seinfeld over the course of hundreds of hours, Seinfeld, Elaine, Kramer, and George start to feel less like fictional characters and more like personal friends that you develop a deep-seated emotional attachment towards. It explains why you might feel such an intimate connection with people responsible for making podcasts, or hosting a radio show, or making a YouTube video. Because you're having this person in your life on such a consistent basis, even if you've never met them before, you feel like you could instantly jump into a conversation with them like they're a longtime friend, because you've indirectly been interacting with them for such a long time. It explains why bigger YouTube personalities and social media influencers have such dedicated fan bases, because their audience feels a deeper connection with them, even if it's not a real relationship. This goes doubly so for super pandering anime like SAO, which encourage their targeted audience to identify with self-insert main characters who usually have some similar interest to them, like playing video games or some other pandering otaku hobby. But ultimately, it's not very healthy for your long-term mental health to feed unrealistic power fantasies to help drown out the banality of real life, because you know in your heart you're never going to be a super-powered gamer god like Kirito is, and you're not going to have a harem of sexy anime girls all clamoring for your favor as they drown you in hilarious panty shots and other fan service shenanigans. But all these pandering light novel adaptations seem to be catering towards the exact same power fantasy again and again, and this troubles me deeply. Now you might be wondering, who the hell am I to be riding on my high horse talking down to all of you, especially when I'm reviewing and commenting on shonen power fantasies that are largely designed to appeal to 12-year-old boys. But that brings me to the reason why I even started watching and reading this stuff in the first place. Let me tell you a little bit about how I got into all this stuff, and how I suspect most of you did as well. Generally, cartoons are considered something that's mainly for kids. something you watch for a period of time, then when you're like 11 or 12, you're supposed to abandon and leave behind as your attention goes towards more respectable adult interests like sports or, I don't know, James Bond movies or something. But for me, and I'm guessing probably everyone watching this video, in the back of your mind you said no. I like cartoons, why do I have to stop watching this? I like fantasy and action and science fiction, and all the stuff that nobody seems interested in making in the more traditional grown-up media. Just because I'm bigger doesn't mean I have to stop watching this stuff. This is generally what leads you down the path of anime. While you may have grown up, most American cartoons don't grow up with you. You notice that they seem to rely on the same repetitive formulas. The status quo never changes. Even the supposedly grown-up cartoons like The Simpsons or Family Guy are basically following the same standard family sitcom model that has existed ever since the Honeymooners. But then maybe you watch your first episode of something like Dragon Ball Z or Yu-Gi-Oh! And you notice how it's not a static setting where everything resets at the beginning of the next episode. There's an ongoing serialized narrative where things are always moving and changing. This form of storytelling, while not necessarily more mature, does feel more sophisticated and adult than something like SpongeBob. That's your gateway drug. And then you just keep getting deeper and deeper into the rabbit hole, looking for bolder and more interesting stories that grow on you, and as Super Eyepatch Wolf so eloquently stated,
and so we inevitably spend a much greater amount of time getting to know their worlds and characters, over the course of which the kind of relation we form with them inherently changes. As rather than being something consumed and then moved on from, these are series that sink into our daily routine and often become a constant, gentle, comforting background noise in the days that make up our lives.
And depending on how deep you go, you begin to see that anime is not a genre, but a medium within itself that covers a spectrum of material that can be as wide as the ocean itself. And that's what keeps bringing new, younger fans into the fold and keeps older fans like me sticking around and continuing to enjoy the medium. And if you don't believe me, look no further than the current Western animation renaissance. Now, just about every major animated production is run by 20-30-somethings like me, who have all grown up and experienced some form of anime fandom, which is seeped into the DNA of such breakout series like Gravity Falls, Steven Universe, and even Regular Show, which had an entire intro sequence that was basically a parody of the opening of Evangelion. Anime always took bigger story risks than anything in Western animation, which was mostly designed as a vehicle to sell toys. Well, not that anime isn't designed to sell shit, at the very least something like Yu-Gi-Oh! Feels like there's a bit more love and care put into it than something like G.I. Joe. So for me to see it start to stagnate in a glut of bland content that's only designed to fulfill unhealthy power fantasies just makes me feel kinda sad. While I might enjoy watching things that are mostly designed for children, I can at least find different ways to engage with it on a more intellectual level, which is why I love making these kind of video essays in the first place. If you stare too long into the wish fulfillment fantasy abyss, then the fantasy starts to stare back into you. For example, take Randy Stair, the infamous Danny Phantom Killer, who loved his fictional waifu of Ember McLean so much that he believed that after shooting up the supermarket he worked at and killing himself, he'd be able to go ghost and join her eternally in the afterlife. While Randy obviously had some more severe mental health issues that underscored his tragic action, it was his refusal to pull himself out of his fantasy-driven mental tailspin that led him towards making his unfortunate choice. Now don't get me wrong, I don't think we'll be seeing some kind of epidemic of mass shooters holding onto their Dakimakura body pillows and terrorizing America as they swear eternal loyalty to their fictional waifus in the great beyond, but the reason I bring up Randy is because he represents a cautionary tale about what can happen if you go too deep and immerse yourself in a fantasy that the real world will never be able to match up with. So I implore that even if you're knee-deep in your favorite light novel anime adaptation and spending hours in debates on Reddit or Tumblr on who the best girl is, try to broaden your palette, and maybe try watching something that you might not gravitate towards normally. Or if you don't want to do that, see if you can engage with your favorite power fantasy of choice on a different level than the usual pedantic analysis of superpowers or fictional fight matchups. Try applying some school of critical analysis towards it, like Marxist theory, auteur theory, or dare I even say it, feminist theory. You'll find yourself having a more rich and engaging experience and be a better person for it. So you asked for more video essays, and I delivered more video essays. I hope you enjoyed that. That started out as something that I wanted to do that was very, very simple in scope, but just kind of kept on sprawling and becoming more and more immense. But you know what? I'm really pleased with the results. You asked for more video essays. I had a little extra time on my hands, so I put together this one as quickly as I could, and I am really, really, really pleased with the results. So thank you for watching that. Hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, subscribe. I'm so pleased to have broken 1K, but you know, gotta keep pushing forward. Gotta keep that number going up to fulfill the need for validation. So if you're interested, I highly recommend maybe picking up or watching Mushishi. I'll include a link down below in the description. Of course, through my Amazon affiliate link. It's a great highbrow anime that will broaden your horizons and maybe not fall into, a rut of, kind of watching the same kind of thing again and again. Because I always think it's important to go out of your comfort zone and see things that you wouldn't normally otherwise. So thank you again for watching this video. I have still a little bit more time. I'm going to try and pump out another video essay that I've been wanting to do for a long time. We'll see. It depends on how big the scope of the script is right now. It's like, oh god, 3 pages, and I'm not even like halfway done with it, so we'll see. It's something I've wanted to do for a long time. The will is there. It's just a question of whether or not I have the time and the resources to, put all the pieces together to submit it out to you guys. So hopefully you enjoyed that. Plenty more to come in the future. So remember, like, comment, subscribe, check out my other video essays if you haven't. Give that Uber video I made with some love, since that was a big passion project. And remember, lobster's antennas, but don't you grab it.
Magnets made of iron, lobsters made of legs.